Okay, so imagine for yourself that it's the autumn of 2006 and I'm sitting on the front steps of my house. I'm really excited because it's my first day of high school. I'm looking forward to meeting all new friends and just the overall experience of what high school is going to be like. But as I think about the next 4 years, there's one thing that I'm not looking forward to at all, and it's school uniforms. I went to a school where the uniforms were enforced. Actually, I have a couple photos to show you as well. This is me and my sister in 2008, and I go to St. Joan of Arc Catholic High School back home in Barrie, Ontario. And then this is my sister and my brother. This was taken actually just last semester. It's my brother's first day of high school. My dad loves taking pictures of the first day of whatever. You get the idea. But I was not excited about wearing these uniforms. I thought that they would be uncomfortable to wear every single day to class, and overall just would not be a pleasant experience. However, after my 4 years there, I think I found that uniforms are actually very helpful improving the attitudes that students have while in the school classroom. They're really good, I think, and I think they're really important in the high schools as they're used all over the world as well, maybe not so much in the United States. For example, in a quote from a letter to the editor in the Canberra Times based out of Australia, a woman writes, "In Britain we were surprised to see that both private and government-run schools all wore uniforms, and very neatly at that, including the length of the hair tied back if over the collar length. And those students looked very smart, and when we asked what school they attended, they were very proud to tell you what it was." Now in Canada, the situation is that the government actually funds Catholic education, and Catholic schools have uniforms. I know that when you think of what uniform schools are, normally you might think of a private school where the high class go. But based on my experience, I think that uniforms should be encouraged in both middle schools and high schools that are government funded in the United States as well. Not only do they help parents save money on clothing, they also promote values to students such as equality and identity. Now I know what you're thinking, you're crazy. They don't help you save money. Uniforms are more expensive than the clothes that we wear on a day-to-day basis. Well, that may be true, but let's think about what we think of when we think of uniforms for a second. Maybe this is the image that comes to mind. We've got ties on, really expensive suits with really costly emblems on them, and just overall a very preppy idea. This might be what you see at a private school where it might cost more, but it doesn't have to be this way. I know that in my high school, white polos and blue pants were what the norm was, like you saw, and those things were very inexpensive actually. Here's a chart from the provider of the uniforms for the Catholic schools in Ontario, and you'll see on the chart here that their prices are on the far left at R.J. McCarthy, and these are the prices of the lower brand names, but despite the lower prices, the discount retailer items were not of comparable quality to the stuff that you were getting at these schools, and then the stuff otherwise when it comes to areas like pants, tops, and sweaters were much more expensive at a comparable quality. So actually it was cheaper in the long run, plus uniform pieces last longer. The reason they last longer is because they don't fit in and out with trends that come and go on a day-to-day basis that teens feel like they need to keep up with. Also, lots of schools have used or recycled clothing programs for families who really can't afford this stuff brand new from the factory. Quote right here, just from a couple of parents from the R.J. McCarthy website and some of their reactions. They were amazed at how much they saved on school clothing for the entire school year since their son's school-adapted uniforms. They saved hundreds of dollars this year alone on clothing purchases. They want to thank the school for employing uniforms. The uniforms cost us less money. They're durable. I wish we'd have them in our school. So parents obviously are very pleased with the way the uniforms have impacted their teenagers' schools. But now that we know that they're cheaper, how do they actually affect students? Well, I think that one thing that's big is our identity. We find our identity in clothing as human beings a lot of the time. I mean, think about as you walk around on campus, if you see someone wearing a nice suit and tie, you might assume either they had a speech for a communications class or they're a business or government major. We find our identity in clothing. Also, if you see someone wearing a scarf, skinny jeans, or dark rimmed glasses, you might think that they are an arts or worship major. You know, and you wouldn't be wrong in assuming those things. So let's think about society. We see people wearing ratty clothing, we think they may come from a low-income place or they actually might be homeless. And when somebody's wearing the Dallas Cowboys gear or New York Giants gear, we know that they're a big fan of that team. But wearing the Cowboys jersey doesn't necessarily make you a Cowboys fan. It's what's on the inside that counts, and our clothing reflects our identity. Me, for example, when I went to this school and I was able to just wear a uniform, I know that I was able to express myself a lot more and relate with a lot of different people because we were all able to look at each other and look the same, and we were able to find out who we were inside and let that reflect in other ways on the outside. I think, hang on one second, I have one more quote to show you. This one comes from Linda Rondo. She wrote this in a 2008 article from the Education Digest. Now, no one is looking at shirts with graffiti or wondering if what students are wearing is affiliated with a gang or worrying about someone's designer sweatshirts. Overall, when we're not thinking about those things, we can truly look inside ourselves and find out what our identity is like. We also judge people by the clothing that we wear. Is it cool? Is it not cool? Do they fit into certain cliques? And I think that overall we can have an idea of equality when we have uniforms implemented in schools. They show that we're all human and they allow for better interactions. I can make friends with anyone in school because I can see that we're all the same, even though we have differences about us. And equality is a really big lesson that needs to be taught to teens, I think. It says right here, just as their parents must wear appropriate clothing for work, students must wear appropriate clothing for their school. The work world, we have certain expectations. They should be implemented in schools as well. By now, I'll bet you're thinking a lot more about uniforms than you've ever thought before, how affordable they are. They have a big impact on students understanding themselves and how they relate to others as well. But I think that the larger problem that we have to look at is how teens respond to material possessions and how we define ourselves. There's a story in 1 Samuel when Samuel's looking for the next king of Israel, and he's looking through the house of Jesse, and he wants to pick the person that looks the best. But God says to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And as a result, he chose David to be the next king, who we've read so many stories about. God cares about more who we are on the inside than what we look like. And he can use something, I believe, just like a school uniform implemented in a high school, to help a teen take a good look at his or her life and find that it's worth far more than just the clothes that they wear.